Interesting stories tonight. Daryl, good news for African movie makers. But my worry, however, is that whenever we talk about African movies, we are only referring to Nigerian movies.
You actually read my mind, because I was speaking to somebody about this, and I said, well, Netflix is going to increase the African content, and he says, you mean Nigerian content?
Yeah.
And so I was asking, so what happens to Ghana then? I mean, can't we have good productions that can... So I know you've had a discussion about this on Business Live before, but
I think the film producers also have to do better than they're doing now.
Yeah, I certainly agree. I mean, we've got very viable companies, film producing companies that can do a good job. Well, talk about viable. The Ministry of Trade is giving assurance that it is committed to supporting companies that have got, again, viable businesses, but don't have the monies to do so. Now, we are being told that 63 companies have so far been selected to benefit from the 100 million city stimulus package program, and government says it is working with commercial banks to ensure that the monies are released for these companies to operate. Ebenezer Sabute has this report.
Government, as part of the industrialization agenda, announced a stimulus package for potential but struggling companies in order to make them competitive. Since its inception last year, about 63 companies have so far been supported. Out of this number, the Association of Ghana Industries, AGI, says only 35 of its members have so far been supported. In an exclusive interview with Joy Business, Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry Carlos Ahinkra said government is still in talks with some banks for more funds.
We indeed have actually thrown this out to the banks to assist the companies that have qualified within the concept framework of the stimulus package. What is left now is for the banks to ascertain the unnecessary banking requirements and facilities and guarantees, of course, obviously, to enable them roll out any assistance to these companies. So I won't want to see it as a program that hasn't worked, let alone say has failed. No, it hasn't failed. And I don't even think that is what AGI is saying.
Carlos Ahinkra, however, indicated that the policy is only meant to revitalize companies in distress, but not a bailout.
That was the only way that we could service a lot more companies, because government cannot have money to just, give out for companies to start working, like it's nobody's business, free money. That is not possible, and that would have been a bailout. But in our particular case, it can't be considered, on the lines of a bailout. It is considered on the lines of national industrial revitalization, where companies that need to be revitalized are held, and helped to stand up on their feet again.
Government has so far allocated 1 billion Ghana cedis in the 2019 budget to support businesses.
The International Chamber of Commerce Ghana says Ghana is on track to begin full implementation of the Trade Facilitation Agreement. The World Trade Organization deal has the potential to increase global merchandise exports by $1 trillion.
The full implementation of the Trade Facilitation Agreement is expected to reduce members' trade costs by an average of 14.3%, with developing countries having the most to gain. Ghana in January 27 ratified the WTO Trade Facilitation Agreement, making it the 104th country to ratify. Secretary General for the International Chamber of Commerce Ghana, Emmanuel Donikwame, explained that although the implementation of the paperless system at the ports has moved Ghana a step closer in achieving full implementation, there is still more to be done.
One is the one on Article 1, publication, notification, and having in place an inquiry point where people can have access to information on new tariffs, new duties, information on new laws, that tend to affect their business. And then Article 3, that one has to do with advance ruling. And then Article 7, that's where I believe we made some progress with the paperless system at the ports. And then issues of risk management, which we have our donor partners, our development partners assisting customs and the Ministry of Trade.
Chief Revenue Officer of the Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority, Fenchina Koto, also assured that the Customs Division will play its part in pushing for the full implementation of the facilitation agreement.
We are thinking of putting it in our strategic plan. You know, customs, we have a 3-year strategic plan. We are here to roll out a new strategic plan. Once the plan is there, then it becomes a project, and then financing will be provided for all activities that will have to be carried out for that cooperation to be undertaken. So we'll have to bring it to the attention of our top management and then to the government and see how best we can do that.
The Trade Facilitation Agreement is the first multilateral trade agreement to come into force in over 2 decades and aims to make trade easier and simpler. For Joy Business, Karen Dodu.
Well, speak of trade, some local firms have started taking advantage of the Continental Free Trade Agreement. You know, that was signed in March this year by 44 African countries with the exception of South Africa and Nigeria. Well, Gihok says it will begin exports next year. Let's hear from the Chief Executive, Kofi Juma.
All creative stuff moving into the international field. You see, Ghana, we used to have good players like Osei Kofi, Baba Yara, but they were local. Until we have, the Asamoah and that. And Gihok is the Asamoah of Ghana. We are going outside, and we are going to be the best. As simple as that.
Apart from the countries you export to, which other countries are you looking forward to moving into?
No, we are going to cover the entire ECOWAS region. And now with a new free trade in Africa, we're going to every African country. But we are targeting Europe. In fact, just this month, they are going. We are targeting Europe, and we want them to do a blind taste test with the best drink in the world. And we tell them our drinks are superior. Simplicity.
All right, you're watching Business Live. We have more on our top story right after this break. That exercise by the NIC to clamp down on commercial buildings that have not been insured. Stay with us.
All right, so welcome back to Business Live. Earlier today, the National Insurance Commission went on an exercise to arrest owners of properties that were not complying with the compulsory insurance policy. Now, something unfortunate actually happened. 6 workers in these buildings were arrested in place of their property owners, and we understand that the 6 are currently at the police headquarters as of the time our reporter was living there, and they are saying that they're using them to get to owners of this building. Charles Aite was with the team and has come through with this report.
The distress action saw some workers of commercial buildings that do not have the compulsory insurance policy picked up by the police. This is the 3rd time the National Insurance Commission, NIC, has embarked on such action to enforce compliance. Head of the task force, Joseph Bento, has been explaining the motive behind this strategy.
Well, some of them, they are not the owners, but they are attendants or occupants of the property. Okay. Because this is our 5th visit to this area. We have already come over and over. We have explained. We have given them caution, and so forth and so on. Today we come with the full force, with the police and the fire service. Okay. And it's only today we are making an arrest. All right. So we have done persuasion all over the years, and now we are trying to be a little stronger.
Things, however, got out of hand when some workers were manhandled and whisked away in handcuffs. Mike Abuatin is one of such employees who shared his narrative with Joy Business.
Just because I wanted to make a call, one grabbed me by the arm. You could see his arm, this thing on my hand. One grabbed me by the arm and called the other one to bring her handcuffs. and they put me on handcuff all the way from the restaurant to the street, and everybody was videotaping as if I was some criminal, some killer. I don't know.
You feel manhandled in this process?
Very yes.
Some residents describe the commission's approach as inappropriate.
Really, I don't understand the whole thing. I can't understand it. It's not at all. It's not. Because you can imagine the situation we are at this time. For certain police will come and start arresting people. And we don't even know.
Head of the police rapid deployment team is Superintendent Almayal K. Abbas.
This has not come to my notice. So far as I'm concerned, from the commencement of the exercise up to now, I'm not privy to the fact that anybody is handcuffed.
But we just saw at around Domin-Pilatu a young gentleman handcuffed. We even interviewed him a while ago about the entire treatment, of which is termed highly problematic. He's even threatening to press charges.
All right, if anybody arrested and is not cooperating under the law, we have got the power to use minimum, I say again, minimum force. We don't use maximum force in this exercise.
Meanwhile, all persons arrested were sent to the police headquarters awaiting clearance from authorities. For Joy Business, Charles Aite reporting.
Quite unfortunate. This actually happened today around Chimota, where we were told that some employees of who were working in these buildings were actually taken away. Edgar Uredu is an insurance analyst, and he joins me here in the studio for a discussion on this very development. Thanks so much for your time. Let's analyze the whole process. The strategy that was employed today by the task force, what do you make of it?
I'm really short of words. I heard the news,
right,
but after seeing the clip, I'm sort of, I don't know, I'm just weak within. Why would the NIC get themselves into such, I don't know, I mean, it's...
So clearly the method that was used was
not right. It is not
a
question of a method. You see, even the police,
right,
the failure of someone to produce his insurance certificate, does it fall within the Criminal and Other Offences Act of this country? Does it fall within that law for which you therefore have to handcuff that person? And as at a certain time, what are they doing at the police station? This has nothing to do with a police station. This is a civil liability.
Right.
It's a civil matter, right? The individual, by the law, is expected to provide a certain duty of care to visitors who come to the premises,
right,
or trespassers or who have you that come in there. It's a duty of, it's just a civil liability, it's a common law, tort law.
Right. So I'm glad you spoke about the law. So what does the law stipulate about exercises like this? If you're trying to get somebody to comply, they haven't been able to insure their buildings, what's the right way to go?
That is why you have legal department, you have your lawyers. You realize that the people do not have insurance, immediately write to them. That is why the legal department is there. You write to them and bring their attention to the fact that they have failed, or as it were, gone against section so and so of Act 724, right? And therefore, you are giving them some time space to do whatever is necessary or what have you. Other than that, you proceed to court. This has nothing to do with police. The police come in only in criminal matters.
Right.
No, you suggesting that, Sandra, I owe you some money and therefore there's a problem, then you go and bring the police to come and handcuff me.
It's become the norm now because people have been using the police to collect their debt.
And I'm so disappointed that it's happening, and you say, as at the time, they are still at the police headquarters. So no police officer, no police officer at that police headquarters can see that what has been done is totally against the rights of the people.
I understand the whole exercise is just to even protect the third party in these buildings.
Exactly.
And here we are, the third party is being whisked away by the police.
And now the boys that have been, picked up.
Right.
So what charge are you going to, levy on? Which charge are you going to put on them?
Well, so the understanding our reporter brought to us is that they said they were using these employees to get to the owners of the building, which is totally
total nonsense. And I mean, I'm so disappointed that the IGP sits at the police headquarters and allows such nonsense to take place in his office. The NIC itself, I don't know, but they got a big problem. Mr. Benton at the NIC must even resign. This is totally unacceptable. So you don't even know which law you are enforcing now. Are you talking about the occupier's liability? Or you are talking about the owners who are supposed to, insure the property against some particular hazard, and then the occupier too against some particular hazard?
I think we've seen this issue with what the GRA has been doing with the tax stamp and trying to get third parties who purchase items from the distributors as well to get to. And so perhaps one will argue that they're just trying to use this strategy to get to that point.
We work with laws in this country. A civil liability is a civil liability. It is not a criminal liability. The police have no business arresting anyone for the mere fact that he had failed to insure his premises. The police have no rights. Laws must work. That's what I'm saying, that under criminal and other offenses law in this country, do you have any section that suggests that such a thing should actually take place?
All right, so obviously they've taken some 6 persons in, and we are told that as of the time our reporter was leaving, they were at the police headquarters. What action can they press? Legal action against the NIC?
Oh, naturally they have that right is open to them. As to whether they would exercise it or not is another matter. I mean, for an unlawful act like this, and and honestly, I can't. So, what time did your reporter leave the?
He came back around 4 something.
Around 4 something.
Yes.
This took place around.
It was midday. We were told.
Midday.
Our report,
so you want to suggest that? So for about 3 hours or so, these boys are at the police headquarters. Oh my goodness! I can't believe this.
So where should they go? Who should they ask for assistance? Because in cases like this, they don't normally have people they know they could go to. And what's the right channel?
They can go to legal aid. Legal aid will be there to support them, or they can even speak with them. You see, one of the difficulties that I have is that the insurance industry. You are selling a product,
right?
A product that is not attractive to the ordinary individual, okay? Now, you want to find ways and means of making it look attractive to them. You must have that kind of romantic approach towards these things. You don't go in such a way, and the moment you do this, you put people off.
Yeah.
Now, one of the dangers is that, you see, if the public, and that is Ghana for you. If the public make a hue and cry over the thing, the next thing, right, government will say, stop it. Oh,
unfortunately, we have to end it here. But we still have to pursue this case and see how these 6 people were taking, the people who were taking it, how they're faring now. And so that's how we wrap up tonight on Business Live. My name is Sandra Senapeno. Do log on to myjoyland.com/business for more business updates. Thanks so much for making a date with us.